Hey guys, this is Zero here with my review of KnockOff, the Battle for Imagination demo. This game is developed by Mecha Ghidorah Studios in the Dominican Republic. KnockOff is a fighting game where you use literal knockoff versions of your favorite action figures and characters from the 80s and 90s. I've been playing this game for a few days, and I have to admit there is a lot of potential in this game, and I definitely love the premise. The character designs are fun and vibrant, and you can pretty much tell who the characters are based off of, and you really feel like you're playing with your old toys come to life, almost like a violent Toy Story. Now, let me remind you that this is a demo and is not the final product. So a good chunk of this stuff is probably going to be patched, tweaked, or whatever. So just keep that in mind. That being said, let's check out the roster. First off, we got Kronan, leader of the Eternal Protectors. He's pretty much your Guile, has solid anti-airs and damage, and with his light arc flash, a slow-moving projectile, so you have the option of using this as cover to walking down your opponent. Anybody that plays against this guy is going to have a rough time. Next up, we have Grimrod, arch enemy of Kronan and leader of the Legion of Blight. He's pretty much your dictator / Akuma of the game. He has super subnormals, but he has a command teleport to get in and out of sticky situations and does massive damage to solve mix-ups when utilizing his projectiles, Blight Fire, and especially the EX Air version of Blight Fire called Blight Flame. Next up on the roster is Wolfgang of the Young Mutated Lizard Warriors. He's pretty much your Shoto, aka Ryu / Ken, being average in about every aspect, but has decent buttons and specials, with the tried and true Hadouken, DP, and Tatsu respectively. He's a good choice, in my opinion, for beginners. Now note, he's the only character in the demo that does not have an air special, EX included, so your air combo routes are probably going to be a little bit limited, but still going to be fun. Following that, we've got Oozebite, the self-proclaimed king of all things slimy. He plays like a mix of Dhalsim and Blanka, possessing unconventional attack angles and ranges. This character can use long-range moves to either keep you at a distance or pull you into his range for solid damage and oppressive pressure. Next up, we've got Raycender, a super robot created by Professor Akio Iwabuchi. He's your Mega Man / Marvel vs. Capcom Sentinel. Solid long-range specials that can play keep away from the opponent, or he can get in close with his drill and do solid damage. Also on a fun note, he's the only character in the game that has an air dash. So when you do your air combos, you're able to have some solid extensions that no one else has. And finishing out the roster, we have Lockjaw, a former stuntman who was turned into a Barracuda human hybrid. This guy is your grappler / bruiser, pretty much your Alex from Street Fighter 3. He's got a pretty slow walk speed, and his dash is meh, which is all pretty much par for the course for his archetype. However, he makes this up for his raw damage. You do not want to get cornered by this guy. He's got solid buttons and great anti-airs, and his command grab is not to be trifled with. If you get caught in the corner and you don't know what to do, just GG's. That's all I got. GG's. You're screwed. Next up, let's cover the mechanics. This is your standard 6-button game, having access to 3 punches and kicks, varying in strength from light to medium to heavy. You're able to link these together to perform chain combos that can also be cancelled into other moves like specials, supers, and launchers. Some attacks have interesting properties on hit that actually pulls your opponent closer to you to follow up with a new attack, as opposed to pushing them away, giving you some fun links and routes to follow up and put together. As standard, you're able to throw your opponent in either direction by either pressing light punch and light kick at the same time for forward throw, or back and light punch and light kick for back throw, which throws your opponent behind you for better positioning, and forward and back dashing for chasing your opponent down or getting some breathing room. This is done by double tapping forward or backward on your controller. And there are some fun offensive and defensive additions that add layers to the game as well. You have access to a launcher that, like its name says, launches the opponent into the air, giving you the ability to do air combos in the same vein as Marvel vs. Capcom and pretty much every anime fighter known to man. This is done by either holding down forward and heavy kick or having it set for a single button if you so wish. In the game, there are also assists. They can come out and do an attack that helps the character. These are typically used to extend combos, and these assists are specific to each character. So what Oozebite has as an assist is not going to be the same as what Grimrot or Wolfgang have as an assist. To call in your assist, you use medium punch and medium kick at the same time, or again, you can set up to a single button. Now, be advised, there is an assist meter, so once you use that assist, there is a cooldown period where you cannot use that assist again until that cooldown is over. Next up, we got specials / EXs. And of course, you know, again, in typical fighting game fashion, you have your specials, EX, and super moves that are unique to each character. Each character currently has at least 3 special moves at their disposal. Specials are done by inputting a specific directional input and an attack combination. The strength of the button used will give different attributes to said move. Lights may be slower, giving you the option to use it as cover to close the distance with an opponent, where heavy will have a slower startup but hits harder and or does multiple hits. EX moves are pretty much the powered up versions of your character's special moves. Each character has at least 2 EX moves available to use. EX moves are done the exact same way as your specials, with only one main difference. So instead of pressing one strength attack button to do the special, you would press 2 of the same button. For example, you do quarter circle forward kick, does a standard special. EX will be quarter circle forward and 2 kicks at the same time. Differences in EX moves can vary just like the specials, with some having invincibility on startup, better recovery, being super / ultra cancelable, more hits and damage, and more. Each EX move requires 1 bar of EX meter, which is the blue bar at the bottom corner of your screen. Once you've used your EX move, you will lose that bar of meter, and you have to build that meter back up by either dealing damage or having damage done to you. Supers / ultras are your character's desperation moves. They are typically really buffed out versions of specials. Having a cinematic start to the move, these supers do massive damage. These are used to either gain a life lead or to finish a round outright. These are executed by doing special directional inputs twice, then hitting the corresponding attack button, and require 1 bar of super meter. That's the large orange circle next to your EX meter. You can save up to 2 bars of super meter, and in many cases link one super into another. But be warned, they usually have a slower startup, and if they are blocked, this will leave you open for your opponent to retaliate and boop your snoot. So remember, high risk, high reward. Zenith Strike. Zenith Strike is a charge move that, when fully charged, becomes essentially a guard breaker. This will give you the chance to open up an opponent's defenses if they're being super defensive, and it looks like you can also meter this as well on an opponent's wake up, making it an extra layer to make the opponent worry and figure out what they need to do. It costs 1 bar of meter fully charged or not, so be careful when using this. Guard Repel. Guard Repel is a defensive move that pushes your opponent back when they're attacking. So it's pretty much push blocking in MVC. Again, pretty much any anime fighter that you played. You would use this if your opponent is being super aggressive and is not really giving you any room to breathe. To do this move, you would press heavy punch and heavy kick at the same time while blocking. Again, this costs 1 bar of meter, so you cannot do this all willy-nilly and unlimited. The designs of the characters are great. They have a solid plastic toy look, fresh out the box that haven't been played yet. And you can tell that the devs are really big kids and they love what they're doing, because of all the articulation details in the toys. God knows how much these toys would have cost, especially Kronan and Grimrod. These guys have individual posable fingers. That is a level of dedication that you don't see very often now, and I really appreciate the attention to detail. All the characters look fun, and you honestly, if they were available, I would pay, I would buy them. So, wink wink, nudge nudge to the devs. There were a lot of times when doing basic combos, I would accidentally do specials when I wasn't trying to. This is in large part of how lenient the input reader is. For example, Grimrod's Flesh Grinder, his Tatsu, is down back and kick. Well, when I do crouch back, I have to let my stick return to neutral before hitting a kick button. Otherwise, Flesh Grinder will come out because the game reads it as me putting in the directional input for the move. What I would honestly recommend is the tried and true Street Fighter quarter circle forward, quarter circle back deep inputs. That way, there's less confusion for the game to read it as anything else. Now, on the opposite end, when finishing some of the combos, especially on Wake Up, I would press up forward to possibly hit my opponent or to try to reposition. But all the game would read from me was inputting just up. So all I got was a neutral jump. And again, I had to let my stick reset to neutral and then press up forward or up back to be able to actually have my forward jump or back jump read. Now, there are already plenty of ways to lose a match. The last thing you want is to, God forbid, lose a tourney, or even worse, lose a money match against that one dude that's been talking smack on Twitter the past 6 months because you couldn't jump out the way of a fireball because the game was not reading the input correctly. As I previously stated, all characters have an assist that are specific to them. What I would really love to see is being able to mix and match the assists. I feel like it would bring an extra layer to the game, leading to new combo routes, mix-ups, all sorts of stuff, and just having a bit more fun way to play the game. Okay, let me say this first. The combos in this game are fun as hell. They're flashy, fun to watch, and you do feel accomplished when you master them, especially the infinites, air combos, and God forbid the TODs, aka the touch of death. However, the damage scaling in this game definitely needs some tweaking, which I'm sure the devs are going to do at some point. Many of the combos do solid damage by themselves, and this is also going back to the lenient inputs that I talked about earlier, but when doing longer combos, the damage is way too high. With enough meter and a good mix-up or two, you can literally TOD someone in round 1, and that's without the infinites. What needs to be done is a tweak of the damage done, and of course, this is also going to be dependent on the character. Infinites. Okay, make no mistake, I want there to be some infinites in the game. I love seeing them done, and I love doing them. They show a level of mastery and dedication to a game where you know your character inside and out, in my opinion. What I would like to see is all characters having at least 1 or 2 infinites. However, have the execution be really strict. And of course, having the damage scaling to the infinite. With having the damage scaling and strict execution, it pushes the player to really practice and learn the character, hitbox, and frame data viewer. And of course, I want a hitbox/hurtbox viewer for the game. It helps with knowing where your hits are and how they work. And it also is good for basically being able to review and seeing how you got hit and what you did wrong and what you did right. As I stated in the design section of the video, the toys look crisp and clean, like they're fresh out the box and never been played with, which is great on one hand. But on the other hand, with the premise of the game being old action figures that I'm assuming that the kid played with, I would love to see some battle damage versions of the characters. So either scrapes, scratches, paint missing on either the toys and or the weapons, maybe even some discoloration, and possibly in later versions have the battle damage appear in match as the character takes damage, or even in the win quotes similar to like classic Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 3. In conclusion, KnockOff so far is a fun game that I really enjoyed, and I feel really captures the essence of taking your toys out and making all the random fights that you imagined as a kid and puts it on the screen in a fun and exciting way. Given time, I do feel like this may end up being a classic, whether it is a worldwide classic or even a cult classic for old heads and new heads alike. Definitely check out the demo and support them on their Kickstarter. I'll link the demo and the Kickstarter in the description. That's all I got for now, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Fantastic. Did you remember to subscribe? Well, 90% of viewers don't, and subbing and liking only takes a second for you, but it helps this channel immensely. It helps me and the channel get better placement on the YouTube algorithm and helps our community grow. So, sub, dagnabbit.